Hey, what's up everyone? Alex here, back with another opening video, the 112th opening video that I'd like to share with you, which is none other than the X Square opening. So this opening, again, similar to just a few openings back, it's a relatively short sequence to kind of initiate. And at the same time, I'd like to especially note that, the X Square opening is indeed a very high risk opening. So let's just quickly run through the sequence. Black starts off with F5. White F6 diagonal, so black E6, which is the usual, and regardless of whether white plays F4 or D6 for that matter, black basically goes to G7, and that kind of opens up the X square opening as per the software over here. So I would say that this opening is purely academic purpose, or it's probably worth just using it as a reference just to know that this opening is the quickest way for anyone within the game to kind of reach an X square. And of course, it's usually used as kind of like a troll or blitz opening. I've never really seen anyone play X square opening with great success because of the magnitude of the advantage that you give your opponent. But at the same time, it does throw out a lot of surprise factor if you suddenly do it to your opponent. But I think in general for slow games, it's not very easy for you to kind of overturn this deficit, which is, I think the true deficit of an X square opening is probably like minus 24 to 28 range. So I think one of the players that I know, Mr. Alejandro Di Mattei, who is also the European Othello champion 2022, interestingly, he does do this X square opening pretty often, and I think even against maybe a 3 to 4 down player, he can even do this and apply enough pressure to kind of make the opponent crumble. So I think let's just quickly cover about X square opening. Like typically when your opponent gives you a corner, I would say the tendency is like, hey, you want to kind of immediately approach close to it. But I mean over here, the best move that is recommended is E3, just to kind of continue to form that compact shape. So I think from a concept perspective, it doesn't really change about how you should play group small inside. So I think most players, who encounter X square opening for the very first time, they could even think of, this guy's giving me a corner, I want to grab it immediately. But taking all three discs right at the opening get-go is probably not too great, because if black plays here and you play into the center, black basically can still control pretty much the mobility over here. I would say, yeah, it's basically kind of giving you the corner advantage, but at the same time, with this structure being formed, it's fairly poisoned across the board. So it's probably not that easy to kind of continue the game, the progression. So if you were to just jump into the center over here, and if white were to just choose to creep along its edges, or maybe go into the center over here, you can see that it's actually not too bad an opening for black. I think it's still playable from a mobility standpoint if your opponent does take the corner immediately. So obviously the more advanced players will never take the corner immediately, but rather play around like G6 just to kind of cut across over here. And of course, if black were to play away from it, then white may probably consider something like a cut this way. So I think it's still too difficult for black to kind of pull off something meaningful, unless your opponent is making a lot of mistakes. If not, chances are that you'll probably make a mistake earlier than him and give out even more advantage. And let's just take a look at the best move sequence. If black were to kind of just do probably a more kind of absorbent shape this way, like just forming a pair, a mid-game pair, and then lowering white to kind of play into that, it'd still be something similar to maybe like a snake checkerboarding, snake peasant opening, but with a huge disadvantage to the X square. So honestly, I don't really see any merit to play the X square opening, but incidentally, there are players who actually try to specialize in this just to throw out a bit of a surprise factor, or whether you're trolling your opponent, or basically just giving your opponent a huge handicap right at the get-go of the game. So I don't really see a huge meaning to it, but at the same time, I would say it's something that you can probably play in blitz or just for fun against your friends in a non-tournament format or non-tournament setting. So yeah, I think that's basically the X square opening, and thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you at the next one. Goodbye.